Hello and welcome to GameSpot's live video review for Capcom's Dead Rising for the Xbox 360. I'm senior editor Jeff Gerstmann. We're here with Alex Navarro, who just spent some time reviewing the game, right?
Yeah, little bit of time.
A little bit
of time with the Dead Rising.
Well, why don't we get things started here by taking a look at the standard video review that you shot, and we'll take a look at that, and then we'll come back and we'll be back with your questions after this. All right, we are back. Now, you talk a lot about the horrible things you can do to zombies, but I put it to you, there's no such thing as a horrible thing when it comes to zombies. You know, they're zombies. You have to take care of them.
Yeah.
You have to put them out of their misery,
Yeah, you might be right about that. I mean, I say the horrible in the sense that, you know, the aftermath, you know, the things like just the blood and the guts and, you know, just all that nastiness all over the place.
Everything that happens after the zombie apocalypse.
That's horror, man.
Okay.
That is horror.
All right, well, let's turn to questions. Keep them coming in. We'll start here with Adam from Cleveland. Wants to know, does the save system seriously hinder the game? You talk a lot about how you can only have one save. You know, how does all that stuff work, and does it really come up and get in the way a lot?
The thing about the save system is that, you know, basically the structure of the game is fine by itself. Like, you know, it's kind of annoying maybe at times to have to be places on time and do stuff, you know, like on such a stringent schedule. But it would be okay if there were just multiple saves. And because it's very... I wouldn't say it's like it's overly easy, but you know, you can very easily back yourself into a corner by saving the game in a spot where you just don't have enough time to get to the next mission, which then, you know, just sort of eliminates your ability to get to any of the case files after that, and you have to either reload for the last save or start the whole game over again.
Right. So how does that work? Tom from San Francisco says, you know, if you miss one of the cases, I mean, do you have to restart the game? What happens if you keep playing?
You can keep playing. I mean, I'll be honest when I say that I did not just sit around and keep playing, but it is mandatory to complete like the storyline to have those case files going. They're an integral part of the flow of the game, and you have to go through them. So, you know, I mean, theoretically, you could just stand around and kill zombies all you want after that, but you need to do the case files to complete the storyline and, you know, get to the truth and all that stuff.
Right. Okay, so how hard is it to get to the truth then?
You know, it's like if you play the game fairly carefully, you don't go around and do, because there are tons of side missions that will just pop up in between, you know, the various story missions. And if you don't spend all your time just, you know, going and doing all these side missions and just, like, you know, not really paying attention to, like, because there is a timer that counts down and lets you know how much time you have left to get to a mission. And if you don't just let that run out and, you know, pay close attention, you can get to those missions just fine. You know, you'll get through the game just fine. The missions themselves can be pretty challenging. There are a lot of fairly difficult missions within the storyline, and even a lot of the side missions are pretty tough. But, you know, none of it's impossible. You know, you start figuring out the right strategies for, you know, the various, you know, boss fights and, you know, the rescue missions and that kind of stuff. And it's going to probably take you at least a few playthroughs of most of the missions. Okay.
Justin Ripley in Kingston wants to know, what's the total time you'll need to wait until you're rescued? It's like 72 hours, right? But what's that translate to in game time?
Well, the 72 hours, you know, is obviously not really 72 hours, because that would be a really long-ass game.
Yeah.
I don't know like what the exact time progression is, but I mean, I'd say, you know, if you were really awesome at the game, managed to get through every mission the first time around, you know, didn't like dawdle around doing stuff and whatever, you could probably get through the 72-hour mode and the sort of bit of story that kind of, you know, comes following that, which I'm not going to get into because that would just spoil the whole thing. In about 10 hours. But, you know, most people are probably going to take more like 15 to 20 to get through a lot of this stuff. Because, again, it is pretty challenging, it's tough, and I mean, it's fun.
And then conceivably, if you wanted to see the entire game, you'd then have to go back through and just, like, maybe focus on only the side missions or something like that, right?
Totally. Because, I mean, you can't only focus on the side missions if you want to get through the game, because the side missions kind of tend to dry up, too. But, you know, it's like you can go, basically, you're going to want to play through the game multiple times to get everything, because there's a bunch of different endings to the game. You know, there's a lot of different ways you can kind of go through and do stuff, and doing the side missions actually gets you like little different pieces of the story. So, you know, there's things to fill in, gaps to fill in, and a lot of the achievements you're just not going to find the first time through.
Okay, yeah. So how hard would you say the achievements are?
They're all 20 points.
Yeah.
And they equal up to 1,000. So, you know, there's
50 total.
So there's 50 total achievements in the game. Some of them are pretty easy. You know, there's a few, like a lot of ones where you just like, based on the photography stuff, where you just kind of have to wander around and, take photos of people you've rescued and stuff like that.
Right.
There's some easy stuff, beat a couple of bosses, but then there's a lot of really crazy ones like, kill 53,000 something zombies, which is the entire population of Willamette, Colorado.
Okay, so I mean, let's give that some context. In the course of finishing the game, how many zombies would you say you killed? I mean, you didn't necessarily go out of your way to kill them, right?
In the course of finishing the game, I probably killed. I mean, I spent some time going around killing zombies because I wanted to.
They deserve it.
Yeah, they absolutely deserve it. They're mean-spirited little buggers. They're mean. But I would say I probably killed somewhere around like 3,500, 4,000, somewhere around there. Maybe more than that. I don't remember the exact number. But
that's a lot, but not.
That is not 53,000.
That's not even close.
No.
All right.
Yeah.
that's bananas. All right.
Yeah.
Justin Clappa in Surrey wants to know: Is there any online or multiplayer? I mean, this is strictly a one-player game, right?
Yeah, this is just a one-player game. There is no multiplayer whatsoever, which is kind of a bummer because a co-op version, like some sort of co-op missions or something, that would have been really awesome. But
there are leaderboards in there, so you can kind of compete with people online.
Yeah, there's a score that kind of comes along with your profile, and there's a leaderboard for that stuff. But you don't have to necessarily there's no real multiplayer component at all.
Okay, Camille in Miami wants to know what's the best aspect of the game. What's your favorite part about Dead Rising?
My favorite part about Dead Rising is just killing zombies, dude. I mean, it's the thing about it is that the game sets it up so nicely for you just to constantly have access to weapons and kill zombies. It is not hard at all to get just a random object from anywhere and just like, bludgeon, stab, shoot, do all sorts of horrible things to zombies. And, the weapons are just kind of hysterical. So.
Well, yeah, let's talk about the combat for a bit. Spencer Guy in Matthews, North Carolina wants to know, what do you think the strangest item in the game is? Oh,
God, the strangest item? I mean, there's some really kooky stuff in there. One thing I'm particularly fond of is the Mega Buster. Which is actually like a replica of the Mega Man Buster gun, and I think there's actually like a whole Mega Man suit in there. I didn't find it, but I found the gun, and it just shoots tennis balls.
Cool. How effective is that against the average zombie?
Not super effective. I mean, it knocks him over. It ain't gonna kill him unless you just keep hammering at him.
It'd take a lot of tennis balls to kill a zombie.
It would take a lot of tennis balls to kill a zombie. But I mean, and there's stuff like that. There's do you remember that game, The Adventures of I guess Tron Bonnie or something?
Yeah, Tron Bonnie, yeah.
The like the helper robots, I forget what they're called.
Servbots.
The Servbots, yeah. Like they have the masks of those things all over the place, and you can just in like the toy stores.
Right.
So you can just grab those things and basically instead of like bludgeoning a zombie with it, you just put it over its head and let it wear it, and it just sort of wanders around aimlessly and doesn't really know what's going on. And
nice.
It won't attack you anymore. So there's a lot of stuff like that in the game.
Crazy. Abhishek in Minneapolis wants to know how many types of guns are there, and how satisfying is the shooting? Is there a variety of guns in the game, or is it pretty much just?
It's not a huge variety of guns. I mean, there's like a basic handgun and a basic SMG and like a basic shotgun and a sniper rifle, and there's some other stuff you encounter after that. And I would say the shooting's pretty satisfying. It's a little weird because early on in the game, the aiming mechanics feel a little clunky at first, but once you start to get a feel for it, it can actually be really satisfying, especially with like the shotgun, which will just blast huge groupings of zombies away and whatever. And the sniper rifle is actually really effective. So
cool. So now there are other modes in the game that come along.
Right. There's there's a 72-hour mode, and then there's the story bit that kind of comes following that is actually its own mode that you unlock by getting through the 72-hour mode.
Okay.
And then there's also an infinite mode, which is actually like a survival mode.
Yeah, we're getting a lot of questions asking specifically about how infinite and survival mode works.
It's just a survival mode where you can kind of like just fight zombies, and your health is just going down at all times.
Okay, so you kind of have to always be looking for orange juice or whatever.
Yeah, basically that's the gist of that mode. So.
Crazy. Cliff in Richboro, PA wants to know, does Dead Rising reference a lot of different zombie movies? Do you find a lot of references to, and also like other Capcom properties?
Right.
Is there a lot?
Well, it's in a mall, so it's it's kind of already one big tribute to Dawn of the Dead.
Right.
It's got that whole thing going on. I would say it's more akin to the Dawn of the Dead remake because it doesn't really have a whole lot of that that commentary subtext going on that the original Dawn of the Dead had. But I mean, there's a little bit in there. Like there's some interesting commentaries on American society in there, like just gun laws and vegetarianism and all sorts of other really weird stuff in there. But,
crazy.
But as far as like references to, I mean, yeah, there's a bunch of random references to Capcom properties. Like there's a store, like there's a shop in the demo that I'm sure most people have already played. It's called Jill's Sandwiches, which
that's pretty great.
I'm sure people will get immediately. Like your watch is a Mega Man brand watch, and obviously there's the Mega Man suit and the aforementioned
the
Servbot mask and all that stuff. And there's some other little things I'm not going to spoil for people because it's more fun if you find them yourself.
Right.
But yeah.
Ross Busby in Scotland wants to know, are there any moments in the game that'll make you jump with fear? I mean, a lot of people are wondering if this is like comparing to like the Resident Evil games where they're kind of like scary and stuff. Is this more
so what
lighthearted?
You're saying, like, are there any cat in the window scene kind of moments?
Yeah. Is there like stuff jumping out?
That's business lingo right there. That's scary movie business.
Sure.